with Do-It-Yourself Girlfriend, and Christmas is coming right around the corner, so today I'm going to show you how to make these very cute but simple present decorations that I found on Pinterest. So let's get started. So first I went to Home Depot and grabbed 2 of these 5.5 by 6 foot cedar boards that are only $4 a piece. Next I went to Hobby Lobby and all of their Christmas stuff was half off. I got this 2.5 inch by 30 foot buffalo plaid ribbon. I also got 3 of these pine garland pieces, and I got 3 of these red berry pieces. I got a bundle of these pine cones. You only need 1 pine cone for each present. And lastly, I grabbed a tub of these large jingle bells. The rest of the supplies I had at home. You will need a saw of some sort. I'm going to be using a miter saw. You will also need 6 large paint sticks to hold the 2 pieces together. And you'll need sandpaper, 2 large clamps, a drill, 1-inch screws, a tape measure, a staple gun, a speed square, a pair of scissors, a pencil. You'll need Gorilla Glue and also wood glue. And then you will need a gray wood stain, a staining rag, whitewash paint, red acrylic paint, a natural bristle brush, and polyurethane spray. I'm going to put a lot of my supplies into my DIY tool belt, and Cricut is here for moral support, but now we can get started on the project. First, we need to cut the wood boards. You'll want to measure and mark your wood board at 2.5 feet and make a straight line with your speed square. And this will be the measurement for your tallest present. You will need 2 pieces of wood for each measurement. And then you'll want to use a miter saw or your saw of preference to cut your wood boards. If you're using a miter saw, cedar wood is soft enough that you can stack your 2 boards on top of each other. You'll just want to make sure that the edges are flush and you can cut both boards at the same time. This will ensure that both of your boards are exactly the same length. If you are using a miter saw, a standard blade won't cut all the way through to the other side of the wood, so you will need to flip your boards over and make sure that everything is still lined up, and then line up the saw blade with your original cut and cut all the way through. For the medium-sized present, we measure and cut 2 pieces at 22 inches each. And then for the last present, which will be the smallest one, we measured and cut 2 pieces at 16 inches. Once you're finished cutting all your pieces, this is what you should end up with. Next, we need to cut the paint sticks. And the length of your paint sticks should replicate the width of 2 of your boards side by side, and they should all be the exact same width. I'm going to make a line with my pencil where I need to cut the paint sticks and then head to the saw. Since these paint sticks are very thin, they're only about 1/4 inch thick a piece, you can stack 3 of them on top of each other and cut them at the same time. This will speed up the process. Next, it's time to sand. You can use sandpaper or a sanding block. Use 120 grit sandpaper and sand down the rough edges of the wood boards and the paint sticks. You'll mainly want to focus on the edges where you cut the wood with the saw. For the wood boards, you don't want to do too much sanding on the faces. The rough texture from the natural cedar is what will give the presents a more vintage look. You mainly want to focus on the edges or places where there are little wood pieces sticking out that could cause splinters. Now it's time to stain the boards. First, you can stain your paint sticks, and I'm only going to stain one face and the sides since the other face will be glued to the wood boards. I'm also going to apply stain to the front and the back of the tall and medium boards. And the stain doesn't have to be applied perfectly since we're going for a more rough look. And then I'm going to set them out to dry. Make sure that you wait for the appropriate drying time according to your can's directions. For my shortest present, I'm using a natural bristle brush to apply red acrylic paint to the front, back, and sides of the 2 boards. It's optional to paint or stain the backs of your presents as well, but since the presents will most likely be propped up against a wall, you'll be able to slightly see the backs of the presents from a side angle, so it looks a little nicer to have them painted or stained. I wasn't thinking and I stained all 6 of the paint sticks gray, but since the back of the short present is red, I'm going to paint 2 of the paint sticks red as well. Now that the stain is dry on the medium boards, I'm going to add hints of red to the gray stain on the front faces using the same brush to tie in the red on the short present. For the tallest boards, I'm going to add whitewash paint, again using the natural bristle brush until I reach the desired look. You'll want to start with thin brush strokes because you can always add more paint. Keep in mind that all of the painting and staining steps are optional. You can paint and stain your boards according to your personal preference. Make sure to wait for your boards to dry before moving on to the next step. For the next step, you'll need your wood glue and clamps. You'll first want to flip your boards over to the back side, one present at a time, and apply a thin layer of glue to the inside edge of one board. Then you can put your boards together, making sure that everything is perfectly lined up, and using your 2 large clamps, attach one to the top and one to the bottom of the wood boards to hold them together. Now you will need your drill and 1-inch screws. Using 2 of your paint sticks, you'll want to apply glue to the back side and place them horizontally on the boards underneath the clamps. And then using your drill and 1-inch screws, you'll want to drill 3 screws spaced out into each paint stick, connecting them to the wood boards. Once your paint sticks and screws are in place, your boards will stay together while the glue dries so you can remove the clamps. And then repeat these steps for each of your presents. The next step is to apply polyurethane. I'm using a clear satin polyurethane spray and applying it to all 3 of my presents front and back to preserve the paint and stain. You can use your polyurethane of preference, but make sure to follow the instructions on your can and wait for the appropriate drying time. While the polyurethane is drying, I'm going to prep my garland pieces using Gorilla Glue. You'll first want to shape and spread out the branches on the pine garland pieces. Then you can grab a jingle bell and apply some Gorilla Glue to the back, and then place it in the center of the garland. Then you can apply some glue to the stem of the red berries, and then weave it through your pine garland piece, making sure that the glue is actually attached to the garland. Then you can grab a pine cone and apply glue to the back and place it on either side of the jingle bell. Then you can repeat these steps for all 3 garland pieces and set them aside while you wait for the glue to dry. For the next step, you'll need your buffalo plaid ribbon, and you'll also need your staple gun and scissors. Starting at the front of the presents, you'll want to place the ribbon centered vertically with a tail at one end. Then flip over your boards and continue unraveling your ribbon until the 2 ends meet in the back. Once the 2 ends meet, you can cut off the extra ribbon with your scissors. Make sure that the ribbon is centered, and then use your staple gun to place at least 3 staples in the back, connecting the ribbon together and attaching it to the wood. Then you can flip your present back over to the front and repeat those same steps, this time placing a ribbon horizontally across the present. And then just repeat these steps for your other 2 presents. And the last step is to attach your garland. You'll want to apply a decent amount of Gorilla Glue to the back of your garland piece, and then place the garland centered where the ribbon intersects on the front of the present. For extra support to make sure that your garland piece doesn't go anywhere, you should use a staple gun to staple the garland to the wood boards in inconspicuous places. Repeat these steps for your other 2 presents, and then you're finished. And that's all there is to it. I hope you enjoyed the video and have a Merry Christmas!